Welcome, everybody, and thank you to Sharon for setting this up. The idea of this evening is for me to try and help you wonderful ladies who are going to be reading the Megillah. Judith, not for the first time, and Sharon, not for the first time, but perhaps some of you others for the first time. And it's amazing that you're doing it. That's the first thing I want to say. Kol hakavod. It's fantastic. It's not an easy thing to do. I learnt to learn the Torah, obviously, before my bar mitzvah, and didn't find it very difficult at all because I was young and my brain was like a sponge and could remember all sorts of things. I didn't start learning the Megillah until I was 31 years old. And I'm going to tell you the story of how I came to learn to learn the Megillah, just because it's an interesting intro. My son, Bobby, who some of you know, is a bit of a joker and a bit of a character. And there was only really one day of the year that he could be born on, and that was Purim. Elisheva went into labor and was busy sewing the outfits for these little babies that we had. Bobby was number 3. And she said, I think I'm in labor. I said, well, you need to listen to the Megillah. So I did not know how to learn the Megillah at that point. I was 30 years old. And we called in a neighbor who learned the Megillah. Elisheva went into hospital, had the baby, came back home in the morning, and the same guy came back and learned the Megillah again for Elisheva. So Bobby was what we call born Bein HaMegillot. So I said to myself, well, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to rely on anybody anymore in case this happens again. By this time next year, I'm going to be able to learn the Megillah myself. And so that's why I learnt the Megillah. And I was 30 when I started to learn it. And it was not easy because it's long. But once you get into it, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to learn, because it's such a great story and we all know the story. The hardest parsha of the Torah to learn is Sefer Vayikra, when we're reading about the Korbanot and the Mishkan and all the boring bits. No story to it. But this is an exciting story that we all know. And because we all know the story, it's very important that we make the story come alive, because it's very easy just to go through the motions and read the book, and we want to really make it come alive and get the most out of it. So what I want to do tonight is to first of all go through a few halachot, and then a few quirks of the Megillah, which you need to remember, and then just talk about a few sort of tips that I've picked up over the last 30 odd years of learning the Megillah. And at any time that you want to interrupt and ask a question, just do so. Just interrupt, shout out, wave your hands frantically or something. This is all extremely informal. I've sent out some handouts, which I hope you've got, which is basically everything that I'm going to say is in there, including the mistake that Sharon pointed out. That's what happens, Sharon, when you try and do it without, on the hoof, without a Megillah in front of you, and you more or less know what it says, but not quite. We'll come to it in due course. The deliberate mistake, which was put in there just so that Sharon could spot it. Not. Right. Okay. So, first of all, are you ladies allowed to read the Megillah? Well, we know that's the answer to that is yes, or else we wouldn't be having you do it. But of course, it's not a universally accepted minhag. Certainly where I came from, even today where I came from, there will not be many ladies reading the Megillah. More's the pity. But there are many opinions that allow women to read the Megillah for women. And there are some minor authorities who allow the women to read the Megillah for men. But there's nothing wrong with it halachically for women to read the Megillah for men. It's just not the done thing It's not it's not called kavod habriot. It's not called honor for society to have mere women to do a job that really should be done by us strong men. It's a load of nonsense, of course, but we are battling against many centuries of misogyny. And the fact that you are reading the Megillah for women in your communities is brilliant. And I applaud you for doing it. So let's get that straight, that women are permitted to read the Megillah. Now, there are three brachot to say at the beginning, and at the end there is a bracha. Now, there is no dispute about the brachot at the beginning. The three brachot are Asher Kedishana Mitzvotav V'Tzivano Al Mikra Megilah. There's a discussion about whether women are allowed to say that, because Asher Kedishanu B'Mitzvotav, who has sanctified us with his commandments. The Megilah is, in fact, a mitzvat aseh shehazman grama. It's a positive commandment which is time constrained. And generally speaking, as you know, women are exempt from time constrained positive commandments. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not allowed to do them. It means that they're not obliged to do them. Now, if the Megillah was a standard time-constrained positive commandment that women were not obliged to do, there would be a big problem with you saying that bracha, because you could not say with Shem U'Malchut, with God's name, Asher Kiddushanu B'Mitzvotav. If you've not been commanded, you can't say that. So the question is, are women obliged to hear the Megillah? The answer is yes. And why is the mitzvah aseh shehazman grama put aside? Well, the answer that is given is because they were part of the miracle. They were part of the miracle of the saving of the Jewish people, etc. And of course, the miracle was done through a woman, through Esther. And the rabbis said that we put aside the concept of mitzvah aseh shehazman grama. Women are obliged to hear the Megillah. Even Sephardi women. Now, I say that because, generally speaking, the Sephardim are stricter about brachot than Ashkenazim in terms of saying a bracha levatala, saying a bracha unnecessarily. The Sephardim are very, very hot on that. That's why, by the way, tomorrow morning on Rosh Chodesh, when we Ashkenazim will say Hallel or half Hallel with a bracha, the Sephardim will not say a bracha. They don't say a bracha for their Hallel on Rosh Chodesh because there's a safek whether we should say it or not. And they say, no, we're not going to do it. So, because women are obliged to hear the Megillah, then they can say Asher Kiddushanu B'Mitzvotav, and you can say that bracha. Obviously, Sh'asa Nisim Lavotenu B'Yamim Hahem, Bazman Hazeh, you can say that because you were part of the Nes, and Shechianu V'Kimanu V'Gianu Lazman Hazeh. So, those three brachot should be said, even if there's not a minyan, which is unusual. But even if there's no minyan, you still say those brachot. You should say them standing up, and you should really lay in the Megillah standing up and not leaning on a table. You should be upright. You can sort of put your hand on the table to steady yourself. But if somebody were to suddenly move the table out of the way, you mustn't fall over. So you can't sort of lean on it. You've got to be upright. The congregation should stand for the brachot, which means that when you are reading, you should say the brachot and then wait for them to sit down before you start. Because otherwise, what will happen is you will be starting, Vayihi b'Me'ach Hashverosh, and they're all scraping their chairs while they're sitting down, and they'll miss the first few words, and then the whole whole project will have gone out the window over the first 3 words, because of course you have to hear every word. So you say your brachot, you allow them time to sit down and scrape their chairs and do what they're doing, and you then begin. Okay, so the brachot before the reading, no question about that. Now, the bracha afterwards, haravet rivenu, there's a machloket about that. There's a disagreement in the poskim as to whether that is said when there's a minyan. Ashkenazim only say it when there is a minyan. So if you're saying it, if you say your Megillah at home, just for a few people, and there's no minyan, you don't say haravet rivenu. Now, at a women's reading, the question arises, is a minyan of women a minyan as far as the bracha of haravet rivenu is concerned? And the answer is yes, it is, according to most poskim. And therefore, in your situations where you will be reading for a minyan of women, you should say the bracha at the end. Okay? Now, not everybody paskins like that, but that is the way I think. Yeah.
So who's going to be saying the bracha before and after, since we're all reading a different parak?
Good question. Good question. I think the first brachot should be said by whoever is reading chapter 1 and should have in mind the other readers. Okay. So who's reading chapter 1, Sharon?
Rena Barta. Rena's here,
Rena,
but she's actually in the States.
Right.
I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Rena. Nice to see
Hello.
you. You're going to
I'm
be
very excited to say the bracha.
Very good. So you'll be saying the 3 brachot, and when you say them, you will have in mind all the other ba'alei kriya. Okay? You will have in mind all the others that are going to do it. You'll need to know who they are, ideally, and have in mind, and all those who are going to read after you should have in mind to be yotze with that bracha of yours. Should say amen to your bracha, and of course should not interrupt with any sichat chulin, any extraneous chat. So whoever's reading chapters 2 through to 10 need to be shtum until at least until they've done their bit, ideally all the way through, but at least until you've done your bit, so that there is no hesech hadat, there's no interruption between the bracha that you have been yotze with, that Rena has said, until you do your bit. Okay? And I think at the end, it makes sense to me that whoever's doing the last chapter, or probably 2 chapters, since the last chapter is so little, who's doing 9 and 10?
Tally.
Right. Well, you'll do the last bracha, Tally. Okay? And you'll have in mind everybody as well. All right. Okay. So, now then, that's the brachot done. Let's talk about the minhagim of repeating words. And it is a minhag. Not everybody does it. I noticed here, Rav Yuval, who is an excellent Baal Korah, does not repeat any of the 3 repetitions that I am used to doing. Of course, where I come from, if there's an opportunity to be machmir, then you are. And so, of course, we do it. We do both. And that's the reason that we do both readings, because we're not sure what it is. So let's just have a look at those to start with. If you go to the source sheet that I produced, we're in section 2. We'll come back to section 1 in a moment. I don't know why I did section 2 before section 1, just because it popped into my mind just now. So, chapter 3, verse 4, the pasuk says, let's put it up over here, get it on my screen for myself. There we go. It says, Vayehi, and it was, Ki amram elav, yom vayom. When they said this to him day by day, V'lo shama elehem, and he didn't listen to them. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the king's servant saying to Mordechai, "Oi, why aren't you bowing down to Haman?" And he was told this every single day. Vayehi ke'amram elav yom vayom. Now, it is written. If you have a look at in the Megillah itself, I've got a Megillah in front of me here. It is written, Vayehi be'amram. It is written be'amram. Okay. Now, what's the difference between ke'amram and be'amram? Well, the difference is one tiny little thing at the bottom of the letter, a kaf or a bet with that tiny little tag on it, right? That's the difference. Now, why am I saying it's a tiny little difference? Because that's how we've got to this mess in the first place. Because at some point in the transcription of the Megillah, a scribe has got mixed up, has written Ke'amram or Be'amram, and over the years, it's got all befuddled as to which one it really is. Now, that's the truth that I've just told you. There are all sorts of different explanations as to the deeper meaning of Ke'amram and Be'amram, but the truth is what I've just told you. It was a scribal error. And the problem is that we don't really know which one it is. So in the sense of it, Ke'amram, it makes more sense. When, Ke can mean when. So, and it was when they said it to him. Or Be'amram, with this they said it to him. So we're not sure. So there is a minhag that you repeat the word Ke'amram as Be'amram, and you say it both. Now, we don't say Vayehi Ke'amram Be'amram, because that doesn't make any sense. We say the whole phrase twice. So we go Vayehi Ke'amram elav yom vayom Be'amram elav yom vayom. So we repeat the phrase when they said to him day by day. Ke'amram elav yom vayom, and then we repeat and say Be'amram elav yom vayom. So that way we have covered all bases. If we were meant to say Ke'amram, we've said it, and if we were meant to say Be'amram, we've also said it. And so you've covered both options. Okay, that's number one. Any questions on that? No, right.
Are you going to go over B and C, or?
Yeah, I'm going to the next one now.
Okay. Okay.
The next one is B in chapter 8. Okay, go to chapter 8. And it's verse 11. Let's have a look at what it says. It says, Asher natan hamelech laYehudim, Asher b'chol ir v'ir. It's talking about the letters that were sealed with the king's ring. Asher natan hamelech laYehudim, that the king gave to the Jews, Asher b'chol ir v'ir, that are in every city, lehikahel v'la'amod al nafsham, to give them permission to gather together, to assemble together, v'la'amod al nafsham, and to protect themselves, lahashmid, to destroy, v'laharog ula'abed, and to cause, and to kill, and to destroy, to cause to destroy, et kol chel am umedina, all the army of the people and the province, hatzarim otam, who were oppressing them, taf nashim u'shlalem lavos, children and women, and the spoils they could take for spoils of war. So the problem is this phrase laharog ula abed, And it's a very pedantic problem because it reads, they were allowed to gather up and protect themselves, to destroy and to kill and to cause to be destroyed. Another word for destroy. Cause to perish, it says in my translation. Right. Now, in English, you would not have a v in laharog. You would say to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish. Right? If you were to write in an essay to destroy and to kill and your teacher would cross out with a red pen and say that's not good English. But in Hebrew, you can have ver and ver and ver and ver, all the vers you want. And so again, there's a scribal error. We don't know whether there should be a ver in laharog or not. So the way we learn this is lahashmid v'laharog. No, sorry. Laharog ula'abeid v'laharog ula'abeid. You say it without the vav first, and then you say it with the vav. And again, you can see the notes are a kadma va'azla. They go together. So you don't just say laharog v'laharog. You say them together. So lahashmid v'lahar. I've done it again. Lahashmid laharog ula'abeid v'laharog ula'abeid. And then you carry on it kol chayil am u'medina. Again, covering both bases. Many Baalei Kriya do not do that. Here in Israel, it might be the routine not to do it. I don't know. I've only ever heard Rav Yuval Lane here in Israel because either he's done it or I've done it. So I don't know what everybody else does. But certainly where I come from, you repeat that. So that's number 2 of the repetitions. Okay, that's B on the source sheet. And C is in the next chapter, chapter 9. And this is this is you, Tally, isn't it? You're doing 9, aren't you? Okay, it's verse 2, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, Nikhalu HaYehudim, the Jews gathered, Ba'arehem, in their cities, B'chol Medinot HaMelech Achashverosh, in all the provinces of the king, Lishloach Yad B'Vamakshei Ra'atam, to stretch out their hand against those who sought bad for them. Ve'ish lo amad lifneihem, and no man stood in front of them. But again, we're not sure whether it should be lifneihem or bifneihem. Okay, lifneihem or bifneihem, which both mean the same thing when you translate it into English. But we are not sure what it should be, and we have to say both of them. I'm just having a look in my tikkun, what it says in my tikkun, actually. So it says lifneihem. It's written lifneihem, but there is a masorah that we also say bifneihem. So we would again say the whole phrase, ve'ish lo amad lifneihem, ve'ish lo amad bifneihem. Right? You would say both, that whole phrase. And so, again, you've covered all your bases. So those are the repetitions. If you forget...
So what I'm hearing from you is I don't have to repeat it, because Rav Yuval doesn't repeat it, and you wrote here some Baalei Koreh say, so I don't have to.
You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm just giving you the option. And what I was about to say is, if you intend to repeat it and you forget, don't worry about it. Okay? If you go on to the next phrase or the next pasuk and you think, oh, forgot to repeat that phrase, don't worry about it, because it's not what we call ma'akev. It doesn't spoil the reading. Okay.
Can I just ask,
now,
Johnny, can I just ask a question? Do everybody that's reading those chapters need to be consistent in repeating or not repeating? Or
no. So it doesn't spoil it if you don't do it. If you do it, then you've covered every base. But if you don't do it, it's not the end of the world. Now, however, there are some krioktiv, which means they're written in a different way to the way they're pronounced, that do matter. And there are various in the Megillah. If you look in, I haven't put these in here because I didn't have time. But if you look in chapter 4, in verse 5, you will see the word Bayehudim is written with 2 yuds. Now you could argue that it makes no difference because because the pronunciation is the same, but it's written with 2 yuds. Now, if you happen to be reading that, and you saw and you knew that it's meant to have 2 yuds, and you spotted that the Sofer Stam has only written 1 yud, you'd have a problem, because even though the pronunciation would be the same, the Megillah is not been written correctly because it's meant to have 2 yuds. Okay, so that's one particular Kriyan Ktiv. There are others. There's just one more I want to point out to you because it's important. Right, yes, here's another one, an interesting one. Right at the end, have a look in chapter 10, verse 1. Who's reading chapter 10? Tally, yeah? Okay. Read me the first 3 words, Tally.
V'yasem hamelech Achashverosh.
Okay, now have a look at the word Achashverosh in your tikkun.
Yeah, it's Aleph Vav Vav.
Well, it's Aleph Chet. It looks like 2 vowels, but it's not. Yeah. But it then goes Shin. Yeah, it's missed out a Vav. Missed out a Vav there between the Shin and the Resh. Now, you know that says Achashverosh. But if you were just to look at that word in isolation and you didn't know it was from the Megillah, you would say that says Achasharash, Ichsharash, whatever it is, right? It's pronounced Achashverosh. Now, let's say you were a first-time reader and you didn't know what you were reading and you read that wrongly. You read it as it's written. That's not good enough. You have to read that as Achashverosh because it's meant to be read not as it is written. So I just merely point that out. Not that you would make such a mistake because it's so obvious. But now there is another one that is also that you need to be aware of, which is important, which is in the previous chapter, in chapter 9, verse 19. Have a look at that. You're reading chapter 9 as well, aren't you, Tally? Okay, so have a look at verse 19 for us and read the first 4 words.
Al Ken Hayudim Hapirazim.
Okay, now tell me what it says written, that 4th word.
Hapruzim.
Hapruzim. Yeah.
There's an added vav.
Yeah, so that the vav of Achashverosh from chapter 10 has made its way into chapter 9, verse 19. Right? It's missing from.
It changes the whole pronunciation of the word.
Correct. And that's why you have to know that it says Haparazim. Because when you're reading it, you will want to say Haparuzim. Because that's what it says. Okay, so you have to be aware of that. That's important. And the person who's following along with you, if you make that mistake and say Haparuzim, will correct you because it's not right. Okay. Similarly, they would correct you if you don't say Achashverosh right, but you're not going to get that one wrong because it's obvious. But this is not so obvious, that one. So that's an important one to be aware of.
I
There's
have,
another one.
oh, okay. I
Yes,
have
go on.
I have a question about pronunciation in Perek Bet.
Yes.
Sharon, this came up
Okay.
when we practiced. Achar hadvarim ha'ele, is it kisoch or kishoch? Perek Bet, the Pasuk Aleph.
Kashoch. Kashoch.
It is kishoch.
Kashoch. It's
Okay.
a shin. If you look in the tikkun, the reason it's got a dot on both sides of the shin is the right hand dot is to tell you it's a shin, and the left hand dot is to tell you it's a cholam.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. Okay. Thank
So
you.
it's kashoch.
Mhm.
Okay, now there's one more Korean ktiv I want to show you that's important.
Johnny,
I had it.
everybody, Johnny, hello.
Hello.
Hi, it's Eliane. I must go. I say to Sharon that I have to go at 8 something, so I'm apologize.
Okay, no problem. You can catch the recording, Eliane.
Okay, thank you very much. And if I have a question, I will ask Sharon or
You can ask
maybe.
Sharon, or you can ask me, or you can ask anyone you like.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Bye, Eliane.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Shabbat shalom. Chodesh tov.
תודה.
Now, I had it a minute ago. This there we go. I found it. It is in chapter 8. Please have a look at chapter 8, verse 13. Chapter 8, verse 13. Who's reading chapter 8?
Judith.
Okay, Judith. Okay, Judith. Well, you're probably aware of this because you've read it many times before. But let's just have a look at what it says. Why don't you read me what it says after the etnachta?
A second. Sorry, after what? Oh,
After the etnachta, from Veliyot HaYehudim.
Velihiot Hayudim Ha'atidim. And there's an extra vav. Yeah.
Okay, so how would you pronounce that? When you're reading that, you would say HaYehudim. What about the next word? What would you say? How would you pronounce that?
Atidim.
And how is it written?
It's got an extra vav in the middle.
Yeah. So if you were to read it as it's written, what would you say?
Ativdim.
I think it would be Atudim.
Atudim.
Yeah. There's no yud. There's no yud, so it can't be Atidim, which is the correct way of pronouncing it. It's written Atudim. Ayin Taf Vav Dalad Yud Mem. Atudim. So if you were just looking at that and did not know it, you would read Veliyot HaYehudim Atudim, which is not right. So it's again very important that the reader knows of these kriuktivs. HaYehudim is easy because it's just got an extra yud and there's no other way of pronouncing that word. But the atidim is important because it's atidim, but not atudim, which is the way it's written. Okay? You've probably read it that many times, Judith, that you've not even paying attention that it doesn't say atidim because you know it says atidim, but actually it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It says atudim. Now, what you find in most tikkuns, or tikkunim, I suppose you'd call it, what you'll find is that they have it as it's said, not as it's written. In the chumash bit, in the bit with the notes, and as it's written in the side with it without the notes. Are you with me? So if I don't know if I can show you this, but I've got my big tikkun. Oh, you can't see it very well. On the right hand side, I've got the Megilah with all the notes and the nikudim, yeah, with all the vowels and the notes. And on the left hand side, I've got it as it looks like in the Megilah with nothing, yeah. So on the left-hand side, as it looks in the Megillah, it says atudim, because that's what you're going to see with your eyes. But when you're learning it on the right-hand side with the notes, it's changed it for you, and it says atidim, so that you don't make a mistake. So those are the Korean ketivs that you have to know about, and that you have to be careful with. Haprazim, atidim, and achashverosh. All the other ones, you can't really say Hayehudim any other way, whether it's got one yud or two yuds. Those are the Korean ketivs, and those are the repeatings. Are there any other Korean ketivs that I've missed out? Let me just have a quick check. I don't think so. I think I've covered all the Korean ketivs there. They are probably the most important thing that we're going to say tonight, those, because they're the only thing that really mucks it up if you get it wrong. I think those are all of the Korean ketivs.
I have a question about reading. Why can't we just read from the Megillah part with the Nikudot? Why is it so important that we read without the Nikudot, without knowing when a pasuk starts, begins? It makes it a lot harder and is a cause for mistakes.
So you would advocate for reading it out of a printed Megillah with the notes on?
So that I could read it correctly and not make mistakes? Yeah, I think anyone would advocate for that.
Tradition.
Is it is it halacha?
Yeah, it is. It has to be from a kosher Megillah. A kosher Megillah. By the way, there are differences between a kosher Megillah and a kosher Sefer Torah. Now, listen to this. Don't tell anyone that I told you this. It's a big secret, okay? A kosher Megillah has to be on a cloth, right? It has to be on parchment, and it has to be written with the ktav of Sofer Stam, who knows what he's doing, right? So does the Sefer Torah. Now, this is the bit you're not allowed to tell anyone. If you have a few words here and there that you always get wrong, you can't remember the note, or you get the word wrong, you are allowed in pencil to write on the cloth over that note, over that word. I have in my Megillah, don't need it now because I've written it in. Because I've written it in, I know it now. I forever, when in chapter 9, when it was the story's over and I'm bored with the whole thing, and you've got all this for Noach Lahem, and it's all very difficult to remember that. There's one bit that I could never remember the notes. I got them wrong every time. And I wrote in my Megillah in pencil what the note was to give me a clue. You're allowed to do that in a Megillah. You're not allowed to do that in a Sefer Torah. Have you ever seen a beautiful Megillah in cloth, kosher Megillah, with lots of pictures all the way around it? You know, an illustrated Megillah, right? Have you ever seen one of those? They were all the rage back in the 16th, 17th century, that people would have a Megillah and they would have the story of the Megillah in pictures all the way around the Megillah. You can go online and onto Google and just put in illustrated Megillot. You'll see the most beautiful things. You're allowed to do that. Doesn't make the Megillah not kosher if you write something in. So actually, you could, if you wanted to, by hand, put those dots in and you wouldn't make a mistake. But it's not done because traditionally it's read as it's read. Now, just this morning, David Bernstein, tzaddik that he is, was telling me, don't even know how it came up, but he was telling me that his grandson, Noam, who apparently is an electronics whiz, is working on a machine, some kind of thing, that superimposes the trop and the vowels on a Sefer Torah, right? It's not permanent. It's not written in. It's just superimposed on it from above. So when you're reading it, it's as if you're reading from a chumash. It's got all the notes in and all the trop in. What a delight that would be. That would make life a lot easier, wouldn't it? And apart from the fact that, pasnished, there's no halacha that says you can't superimpose something on. It's not permanent. You switch the machine off and it's gone. So you could even do that on a Sefer Torah, I reckon. So you heard it from here first. When it comes out, and Noam Bernstein, well, he's not Bernstein because it's his grandson, his daughter's son. I don't know what his second name is, but Noam is the one that's going to design this machine. But the answer to your question, Tali, is it's tradition.
I don't like that answer because if it was tradition, then I wouldn't have to do it. If it was halacha, I would have to.
It is halacha. It's
You just
become
said
halacha.
it was tradition.
The halacha is that we read it in the traditional manner.
Because what ends up happening is everyone just learns it by heart and doesn't actually learn how to read correctly. Because we're all just going to have to learn it by heart so that we know when.
Well, that's a problem. If, for example,
I'm
that's a
not the one who
problem.
said to do it without, it is a problem, but how else are we supposed to learn?
It's a problem because a blind person is not allowed to be a Baal Korah,
Well,
even if he knows it perfectly off by heart, because he has to read it.
but you understand
I
how.
do. Yeah, listen, I've been a Baal Korah since I was 10. I fully understand it. Oh, how easy it would be if you could just lane it out of a Chumash. Or the Sefer Torah had the notes and the dots in, but it doesn't, and that's the way it is, and that's why you guys are doing such a great job, and that's why it's such a fabulous thing that you're doing. If it was dead easy, Tally, no big deal, is it? But it's not easy, it's hard, and that's why it's a big deal. So
don't you need a klaf in order to make a bracha? Like,
yeah,
when we read it, right? So that's the
Yeah.
other thing, Tali. If you want to make a bracha on it, you need to read it out of a klaf. And there's certain
Tally
laws.
wants a klaf. Tally wants a klaf with all the vowels in,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah,
can have
we'll
if you want, but don't recommend
Yeah.
it.
It's asking for mistakes and corrections,
Not if you learn it properly.
which I'll just learn by heart and not read it. But
No, you won't. You'll learn it by heart and you'll read it as well. Okay, right. Now, there are 4 places where the Baal Koreh stops and allows the community to say the pasuk out loud before you continue. Okay? And it's very important that you don't continue until they've finished, the last one has finished, and so that everybody can hear you and not them, because the people listening to the Megillah are not Yotza from their reading, because they haven't got a klaf in front of them. Only you have got the klaf. And where are these? Okay, this is in the handout. This is number 1, chapter 2, verse 5. These will all be familiar to you. Ish Yehudi haya b'Shushan Abira Shmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Yemini. Okay, and it's so the verse before ends with Vayitav hadavar ba'enei hamelech vayas Cain. So you need to announce, as it were, to the community that it's their turn to read this. So the way you do that is to alter the end of the previous pasuk. So you would read it like this: Vayitav hadavar ba'enei hamelech vayas Cain. Right? You go up at the end of that pasuk, and it's not the way you would normally end the pasuk, and so everybody knows there's something special going on there. And if they've got the finger on the place, as most of them will, they will know that they are then meant to say out loud, Ish Yehudi haya b'Shushan Abira Shmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish Ishimi. And when they finish saying that, then you carry on and you say it. Okay? And there are 4 places when that happens. Chapter 2, verse 5, chapter 8, verse 15, chapter 8, verse 16. Let's look at those because they're one after the other, and you do it separately. So this is something that you'll be familiar with from Havdalah. So verse 15, so again, Vahadat, in verse 14, Vahadat nitna b'shoshana bira. And then they all say, and then you'll lane it, and you'll go at the end of it, you'll go Va'ir Shushan Lava Samecha. And then they know they've got to do the next one. La Yehudi Maita or Rava Simcha V'Sasom V'Yikar. Okay? And they're bound to be some wag that adds on Kain Tia Lanu, because that's what's in Havdalah. Every year there's somebody who thinks they're funny by doing that. Don't be put off. It's annoying when that happens because it sends you off your roll, and then you carry on like Hudi Maitar of Simcha V'Sasom V'Yikar. Okay, that's number 2 and 3, and then the final one is in the last chapter, chapter 10. That's you again, Tally. You got all the good bits, Tally. Chapter 10, the last verse. Ki Mordechai Yehudim Mishneh LaMelech Achashverosh VaYegadol LaYehudim Ratzu LaRov Echav V'Doresh Tov LeAmo V'Daver Shalom L'Chol Zaro. And then you repeat that pasuk. Okay, so those are the repetitions. Any question on the repetitions? No, good. Right. Now, what I want to tell you next is about the different tunes. Okay? The different tunes. Let's just go through these notes that I made because I'm doing them all out of order here because I'm doing it off the top of my head. We've done the brachot, we've done the Kriyan Ktiv, we've done the verses aloud. 10 sons of Haman. Okay, let's do that next. Okay, 10 sons of Haman, which is in chapter 9. Oh, it's you again, Tally. Okay, chapter 9, 10 sons of Haman.
I also had a question about that.
Right.
My question is if I have to read it in the trup, because I've heard it in trup and not in trup.
No, you don't have to say it in trup. You also don't have to say it in one breath.
Inshallah. Good.
But you meant to.
All right.
Again, you should try to do it in one breath. But if you don't manage, again, it's not ma'akev, right? If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. If you practice enough, you'll be able to do it. So, so my suggestion is that even if you're not pointing for the whole of the Megillah, my recommendation is to definitely point when you come to the 10 sons of Haman, because it's very easy to get confused with the lines and to miss a line. So I always point with my finger. So you stop before Chamet Meot Ish. Okay? So verse 6 of chapter 9 goes, Ufushushana bira hargu hayodim va'abed. Stop, breath. You add in the Chamesh Meot Ish to all the 10 sons of Haman. So you don't say va'abed Chamesh Meot Ish, breath. No, you said the breath comes after the word va'abed. Va'abed. Chamesh Meot Ish, veit parshan da'ata, veit alfam, veit aspata, veit paradata, veit adalya, veit aritata, veit abramashta, veit arisa, veit ardeya, veit arvaistata, aseret. And you add the aseret in at the end as well. So it's Chamesh Meot Ish, all the names, and the word aseret all in one go. And actually, it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. Okay? And the trop is very simple because there's just one darga tavir in the middle of it all. The rest is all fairly straightforward, being merachat tipchas. Actually, there are 2 darga tavirs. There's 8 parashan data and the 8 porata. But all the others are straightforward. So just practice it. But if you stop halfway through, doesn't matter. Just carry on. It's not halacha. Okay, it's not ma'akev. It's a tradition, and we try and do it, but it doesn't spoil the reading halachically if you don't do it. And I'll go further than that. It's better to do it in 2 breaths and to read the words clearly than to try and do it in 1 breath and make a mess of it and not say the words correctly. Okay? Right. So that is the 10 sons of Haman. Now, the next one is the Karnei Para that I got wrong. I got the right pasuk, but the wrong word. Because that's what happens when you sort of know it, but you don't quite know it as well as you think you know it. So turn to chapter 7, verse 9, very interesting. In my on the screen here, let me just have a look at this. Where are you now? Verse 9. Right, right. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you. Have a look at this, because it's quite interesting. Can you see that here? This is the pasuk we're talking about. Can you see that? Vayomer Charvona, which is a straightforward Tlisha Gedola. Echad min hasarisim lifnei hamelech gam hinei ha'etz asher asa Haman. Can you see the note on that word Haman on the screen? What is the note on the word Haman on the screen? What is that note? Sharon, what is it?
I can't
I
see
actually can't.
any.
No, I can't see a note on Haman. On your
Correct. There
screen.
isn't one.
Yeah.
There isn't one. Correct. They've missed it out. Why have they missed it out? I guess because nobody knows how to do it. Right? It should be a Karnei Para on there. Karnei Para is a Tlisha Gdola and a Tlisha Ktana. It looks like the horns of a cow. That's why it's called Karnei Para. And how do you do it? Well, the truth is that nobody really knows. So everybody has their own way of doing Karnei Para. What we do know is that it's a long and complicated note.
Right.
So the way I was taught to do it is Haman. But you can really do it however way you want. It's meant to be up and down, undulating, and it's meant to be long. It's not up and down like a shalshelet, which is shalshelet. It's not like that. It's more wavy. Haman. But you can do whatever you like, really, because nobody really knows how it should be done. I was listening earlier tonight. I thought I'll just have a listen to a few Karnei Paras. There's a very nice one on YouTube from the Moroccans. I wouldn't have a clue how to do it because it's all a bit whaley, but it's very nice if you want to try a whaley one. So that is the Karnei Para. It's the only one in the Megilah, and make it up as you go along, but make sure it's long, wavy, and distinctive. That's all you need to do. All right. Okay. Now, we've just got a couple of minutes left. I just want to go through with you a few little tips that I've picked up over the years, which I think make the whole thing a bit exciting. And that is, remember that you're telling a story. You know the story. You're reading the story. Imagine you were reading a story to your kid at bedtime. You know, you're not going to read an exciting story about, I don't know, about a king that's going to chop the head off his queen and get a new queen. And you say, and the king decided to have a beauty pageant and the girls all came into. The kid will be asleep. Maybe that's what you're trying to do. But he's not going to enjoy the story if you tell it like that. Right? You're telling a story. Tell it like you mean it. So, for example, my favorite bit, when we get to the denouement, when we get to the bit where the king said, Esther says, he's going to kill me. Right, we're in chapter 7, I think, aren't we? Chapter 7. Are we in chapter 7 here? We are, aren't we? There we go. And so let's just have a look how we would lane this. Okay, so here they're at the party, and Esther says, "Oh, matzati chen beinecha melech," and you can say that in a sort of whiny voice. Matzati chen beinecha melech ve'im ala melech tov. And then you go into the Eicha tune, but I'll come to that in a sec. And then Vayoma HaMelech, verse 5. Vayoma HaMelech Achashverosh, Vayoma LeEsther HaMalka. Mi hu zeh ve'ezehu? Who is this man that wants to do bad things to you? Hashem lo lebo lasot kain. Right? You wake them up. They're all we're nearly halfway through the Megillah here. Actually, just over halfway. And they've dropped off a couple of people. You know, Mi hu zeh ve'ezehu? You're Achashverosh. You're really angry. And Esther says, Vatoma Esther, Ish tzav oyev, this wicked man over here, our enemy. And you put some emotion into the story to keep people awake. The beginning of chapter 6. Let's have a look at the beginning of chapter 6 while we've got it on the screen. Balayla hahu nadada shnat hamelech. On that night, the king's sleep was disturbed. Now, there's various different ways people do this. One of the ways that I've heard it done is to do it like this. It's a lullaby. He can't sleep, so you sing him a lullaby. Another way that I've heard doing it is because this is the idea is that this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming to our rescue. Is I've heard people say the word Hamelech over here in the Yamim Noraim tune. So Balayla hu nadadashnat Hamelech. Okay, that's telling us that the Hamelech is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hamelech. So it's just again a different thing. What another one that I had was early on in chapter 2 when Esther is crowned. Chapter 2, verse. Here we go. Chapter 2, verse 17. Let's get it on the screen. Chapter 2, verse 17. Okay. He loved the queen, he loved Esther more than anyone else. And he placed the royal crown on her head. And she became the queen. She ruled instead of Vashti. Vayasem kete malchut berosha vayamlicheha tachat Vashti. That, in case you didn't know, was God Save the Queen, right? So, so all sorts of things that you can do to make the thing a little bit more exciting. But read it with feeling. Read it so that the people know. If you're really, really good, I can't do this. My son Dan can do it brilliantly, but I cannot do it at all. He has a different voice for everybody that's speaking. He has a real deep voice for Achashverosh. He has a frummy voice for Mordechai. He has a villain's voice for Haman. It's really difficult to do, but when you hear it and it's done well, it's genius because it brings the whole story alive. That may be for next year or the year after, but these are just little tips that people can do. So what else? That's about it, really. We've had an hour, and we've got everything that I've just said is written down in all this.
What about the ones in the Eicha tune?
Oh, the Eicha tune. Okay, very good. Thank you for reminding me. The Eicha tune. Right. So the Eicha tune, we start with chapter 2, verse.
Parak Aleph.
Where's Perik Aleph? Oh, yes, Mikelim Shonim, you're right. Perik Aleph, you're right. Perik Aleph, where are we?
Verse Zion.
Zion. There we go, yes. V'hashkot b'klei zahav v'kelim mikelim shonim. Verse chapter 1. Let's go to that on the screen. Okay, so this is in the Eicha tune. V'hashkot b'klei zahav v'kelim mikelim shonim. Right, it's the Eicha tune because those kelim, those vessels that they were using at the party, were the vessels from the Bet Mikdash. And we are mourning the Bet Mikdash, so we use the Eicha tune there. The next one is in chapter 2, I believe, and that is verse 6. After they have said, and you've repeated it, right? You've repeated it. Ushmo Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish ish Yemini, and then you go into the Eicha tune. Asher hogla miYerushalayim im Hagola asher hogleta im Yechonya melech Yehuda asher hegla Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel. Okay, the Eicha tune. Why? Because we're talking about being exiled from Jerusalem. Okay. Next one is towards the end of the next chapter, I believe. I'm not mistaken. Yeah, here we go. The last pasuk of chapter 3 on the screen. Haratzim yatzu duchvim bidvar hamelech v'adat nitna b'shushan habira v'hamelech v'haman yashvu lishtod v'ayir Shushan navocha. Okay, why? Because the decree's been made, and Haman and the Melech are sitting down to drink to toast the success of the extermination of the Jews. So it's part of the destruction, and we sing that in the Eicha tune. Are there any more Eicha tunes? I don't think there are there?
Yeah,
No,
chapter
8.
7 and 7.
Okay, where are we?
Or was it 8 or
Tell me.
7? I can't remember.
That's 8.
Was it 8?
Posuk Vav.
Yeah,
Oh, of course, yes, this is the main one. How could I forget that? Ki eichacha uchal v'ra'iti v'ra'a she'yimtza et ami ve'eichacha uchal v'ra'iti be'avdan moladati. How could I see the evil that befalls my people? Eichacha, it's the same word as eicha. So yes, it's over there. So one before that as well, isn't there? Kinim Karnu, where are we? Or is it just after that?
The one that ends in Avadati Avadati?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be in the previous chapter, I guess. No, it's before that. Chapter 5, I think. No, chapter 4. Right.
Yeah, it's chapter 4.
Yeah, here we go. Chapter 4. Mordechai says to Esther, well, it's time to step up, lady. And she says, no, I don't really want to, because, you know, I've not been called these last 30 days. And here's another, yeah, have a look at Yud Gimel. Here's another one that you can sort of inject a little bit of emotion into. Vayomer Mordechai l'ashir Esther, al tadabi benafshech. Don't think, imagine to yourself, al tadabi benafshech liyem alek beit hamelech mikol hayudim. Don't think that you'll be able to escape. Ki im hacharesh tacharishi ba'eit hazot revach v'hatzala yamod layudim mimakom acher. You say that with great confidence, because if you stay silent, don't worry about it. Revach v'hatzala, relief and rescue, will come to the Jews from somewhere else. Ve'at u'beit avich tovedu, and you and your household, your father's household, will be lost. Umi yodea, and who knows? Im la'ed kazot higat lamalachut. So that's a very key pasuk, and so you can really inject the story into that pasuk. And then she says, "Okay, I'll do it." And she says, "Uvachein avoamech asher lo kadat." That's the Eicha tune just over there as well. But there's another one more, which I can't just put my finger on right now, which says, she says to the king, if it was just that we'd been sold for slaves, I wouldn't bother you.
Yeah.
Where is that? It must be in chapter 6 or something like that, I'm guessing. Let's have a look. Find it in a sec. Here we go. Found it. Verse 4, chapter 7, verse 4. Verse 3 first. V'tan Esther Malka, she says, she answers him, Imatzati chen beinech hamelech v'hamelech tov, tinaten li nafshi b'sheilati, v'yami b'bakashati, ki nimkarnu ani v'yami, le'ashmid la'rog u'le'abed, ve'ilu la'vadim v'lishfachot nimkarnu, hecherashti, Ki ein hatza shove b'nezek hamelech. So that's also the Eicha tune. Tinatan li nafshi b'sheilati. Give me my soul as my request and my people as my petition. That's another of the things there. Okay, so that's the idea. The idea is you read it with passion and get people interested and listening, and they want to know what's the next shtick you're going to do, right? If you do all these shticks, they're going to want to know what's the next one you do, and they're going to be waiting for it. One little clue, when everybody bangs for Haman, stop and repeat the word Haman wherever you've said it before. So because some people will miss it with the banging because they'll start the banging before. So over here, for example, just on the screen, V'hamelech kam b'chamato mimishtei hayayin el ginat habitan v'haman amad. And then everyone shouts, and then you go again back, the Haman amad. You say the Haman again, so that everybody can hear it. Okay, I'm tired. I don't know about you. Any questions before we finish?
Hi, it's
Can I
Rena.
just
Oh, sorry.
go on?
ahead, Jen.
Go,
I
Rena.
have a question. You were going over how, if you want to make it interesting and do the different voices, then why do we spend so much time learning the trup if we're just going to ignore it and make up our own?
Well, you're not making up your own the whole thing. You're only making up your own bits and pieces, aren't you? But yeah, I mean, if you're a purist, I don't suppose the Yekkers would do what I'm suggesting. I don't know, but it's a well established way of doing things, and it goes down well. People enjoy it, It makes the reading come alive, and I think it's worth. Personally, I think it's worth doing.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask quickly, if people don't switch to the Eicha tune, does it matter? Because it's actually quite hard, especially when you're doing it for the
Very
first
hard.
time, to switch from one trop to another.
No, it doesn't matter. Again, it's like, it's all the other things. These are minhagim. They're not ma'akev the reading. Absolutely no, it doesn't matter. And it is hard. And it's very hard to switch between various different tunes. It's hard to switch to the Yomim Noraim tune, and then back to the Megillah tune, and then to God Save the Queen, and then back, and Eicha, and back. It is hard. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. But it's not ma'akev. If you don't do it, it doesn't spoil the reading.
Brilliant.
Okay, any other questions before we go? No, I'll stop the recording.
Can I just, and can I just say on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for giving us your time. I know how pressured you are, and it really, you've put a lot of effort in, really much appreciated. And can I just remind everybody that we're meeting on Monday, the 29th of December, for Debbie to hear us, and I'll put a poll for individual times nearer the time. And as ever, if anybody wants me to hear them, please come, please ask. Any questions, put on the WhatsApp group, and I will direct them at Rabbi Lieberman as well, if you don't mind.
No problem. Yeah, or you can ask me directly. Those who've got my number, feel free.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.